You know, the game's all about making something cool, finding cool stuff and putting it together, seeing how it works. People want to build this sandcastle. And it sucks when you don't get to do what you... Another huge downside to destructive interaction is that players just want to make their own strategy. You assembled this cool combo and they just like took out one piece in the middle of it and now it just doesn't work and then you don't get to do anything. Like, that feeling sucks. One big downside of really heavy interaction in games is that you have to wait for the opponent to make all their choices before you can do yours. And so there's a lot of turn waiting, like it's my turn and your turn, and half the game is just waiting and staring at the opponent. Even auto-battling games have a lot of waiting, and that's lame. It's not fun to wait. The Bazaar used to be a really interactive game, and it came from two main areas. The first was destructive interaction. You'd break all their stuff. The other area was that it was a 1v1 game. You just keep fighting the same person over and over.
Oh yeah, being bad at building decks won't feel shitty. Because at the very least, if you're 1 and 2, there's a high chance you come up against my troll decks that aren't supposed to win, and you get a free win from that. Like, to be competitive, you're going to need to have a strategic, logical mindset to be able to build a deck that will strategize and to be prepared to pivot. Again, that's a huge part of how the Bazaar is played, and I have a full video dedicated to it already, and we'll do more once the game is out, because pivoting is going to be such a core skill set to this game, I feel. But yeah, so you're going to need those skills to be competitive. But to have fun, I think, honestly, you don't need too much. You can just pick the prettiest card from every merchant and still probably get a couple of wins under your belt. And from there, you can start to learn what the cards do, build up an idea, and then you'll be like, oh, I didn't know that those two cards actually, proc each other's abilities. If I see one of those cards, I'll make sure I buy the other one next time. And then, you'll slowly build up your idea of what it is. Meanwhile, still kind of having fun. And, okay, here's another part about the zero sum. And they spoke about this in a previous update, and I might have covered it before. However, on top of having a not zero sum game, so one person's having lots of fun, the other person is, their stuff is still working, so they're not unhappy. On top of that, at least in the current build, and they're potentially going to expand this even further in the final build, your PvP fight is not the only time you battle. There is currently a single PvE monster fight during the day. And they said one of the key reasons for adding this, as well as really good flair, as well as it being a cool, different event, it gives everyone a chance to win. In basically every single run, you're gonna beat the monster. These monsters aren't there designed to beat you. They're there to weaken you for the fight later on. But you're still gonna beat that monster. Every time you play the Bazaar, you should at least get 2 wins against monsters and then 3 losses against a player, and you can lose to the first monster currently because it can be pretty strong. But let's say they finally finish the balance and everything. You should at least beat 3 monsters and lose to 3 players. That in itself is a 50-50 win-loss ratio. That's insane. You lost. You absolutely flat-out lost. But you still beat something 3 times. That's genius. It's utter genius. As long as Baz players feel good about going 4 and 3 and 5 and 3, and realistically they will rarely do better, yeah. I mean, they've got to manage that real well. Because as a competitive player, if I keep going 7-3, 8-3, 9-3, if I keep seeing a big, fat, chonky defeat screen every time, I'm going to be pissed.
Most of the cards just interact with your opponent in a blanket way. They slow them down a little bit, but they never stop your opponent from doing their thing. After those changes, the game was still being played against one specific opponent. You just keep fighting the same person until one of you died. So it was a 1v1 game. And that was another way that the game was really interactive, because...
Hey, really excited for the game and project in general. Question. I tend to get bored from TCGs due to the feeling that I just throw stuff in the opponent's face without much thought, which ends up burning me out of the game quite quickly. Do you think that's possible to happen in the Bazaar? I do think that is an entirely valid concern with the Bazaar, but I don't think that's where you're going to be getting your sense of fulfillment from, right? So, differently to your classic TCGs and CCGs, with a deck builder, the sense of achievement and the sense of, I guess, adventure and the new experiences shouldn't come from watching that little 1v1 happen, right? Because that's kind of a subset of the game. That's watching your brilliance happen. Those moments that are supposed to hook you into the game should be the events that happen in the exploration phase. They should be looking at a couple of items and spotting these two things synergize really well together. Or if I get this item, I could pivot out of this build into this slightly different build, and then I'm unstoppable. Or, finally stacking all the perfect pieces and seeing that perfect item drop, top decking in the merchant. Like, that stuff should be hooking you. I hope to God they bring, and they're saying that they're going to do this. They're telling us a million times they're going to do this. But the diversity of the events is what's really going to carry this replayability for me. Because if we're not going to be having the strategy in playing against other people, we're going to need it to come heavily from the exploration phase. So I'm going to need to be able to not just go, oh, I want to visit one of these 3 merchants. I need to be able to think, okay, if I go to this event is actually one that, it's not particularly useful to me right now, but it sets me up to do this other thing later that would let me do this and that. And it's that kind of hook that's going to bring in the players that really care about the strategy.
If one person got a lead, it was really hard to come back. Imagine if an auto-battling game had only 2 players and then one of them just got ahead. They just keep winning over and over. We had a lot of games that ended in like a 5-0 victory. And also, when you don't have a lot of ways to directly break your opponent's stuff, it makes it so you don't have as much freedom in what you can build. Because if this build is bad against that build, I just can't make it because I'm gonna keep fighting that same guy over and over. If he's playing really aggressive, I can't just do the slowest thing because I'm gonna only fight that guy. The matchmaking system we're using today, we're pairing players mid-game against a random other player who's also playing the Bazaar. It could be anybody.
A lot of people are unhappy about this new matchmaking system, but it honestly solves so many problems. It is a legitimate 500 IQ move, up until the point that it's got such a bad rap from the community in general that it hurts the game. I really hope, and this is so important and key with the game that's trying and building so much and looking forward so much, people have to come into this with a slightly open mind. If we just have a bunch of MTG bots coming in saying, oh, I can't counterspell, the game isn't going to succeed. It needs a healthy reception, which is something we definitely did not see for Artifact, and it definitely hurt it. I assume they're going to have a lot of talks, a lot of discussion rather, around their marketing strategy, and I hope to the gods that they get it right. Market it like Raid Shadow Legends, easy. Raid Shadow, I mean, their marketing is technically working. Honestly, okay. So as bad as that, yeah, it's just a bad pen. As bad as it sounds to say market it like Raid Shadow Legends, to a tiny degree, the Bazaar, I feel like probably will succeed if it does that even a little bit, because it has the mobile audience. Like, sure, Hearthstone has a mobile port, but that's all it is, a mobile port. This was designed with the mobile interface in mind. Like, it was designed with them thinking about that. And I've said this a million times before. I come from a company that builds websites, and we are currently thinking mobile first. But in this instance, I think they're doing more like they're developing it for desktop, but they are constantly thinking about mobile while designing it. And I feel like they're going to have a pretty huge mobile audience for this game. Or at least, if they want this game to succeed, without question, the mobile audience is the key. We desktop players are the key to their esports success, if that's what they're going for. But they need to hit that mobile market because they have such an opportunity. Like, what other good... I've played I played Hearthstone, I've played Legends of Runeterra, I've played Shadowverse on my mobile phone. None of them feel good. They all feel like shockingly difficult to play. If the Bazaar nails their mobile interface, we're on for a winner.
We're really excited about this matchmaking system, and we implemented it so you fight random people each time. And for most people, it feels like the game got a lot better. You're not building in response to what the other person is doing. You're mostly just trying to figure out something cool to do on your own.
We're really grateful that so many of you are commenting, making content around the game, disagreeing with us. We just think...
I super appreciate the fact that he shouted out content creators. I know there is not many of us, and there's not a huge uptake on it, but damn that it hit different. a lot of what they say is going to, honestly, a lot of what they're bringing up, especially in this video, should be obvious to TCG and CCG players, or just strategy players in general, with an open mind. But honestly, if they didn't say it, I feel like they're gonna have those comments who are like, but you see, you said that there wouldn't be a turn timer, and now there's a turn time when I'm playing with my friend. Well, yeah, that's just how it works. Unfortunately, they have to spell it out for some people.
This is a super interesting topic to us. So if you guys think we're just completely off base here, if you agree, disagree, whatever your thoughts are, leave them in the comments. We'd love to read more. And we'll see you guys back another Friday for another update video for Bazaar.